It's early 2006. Michelle Garner is fresh from her second divorce and already checking dating sites for a new man. That's where she stumbles across a familiar face, John Britston Hall, known to friends and family simply as Brit. Brit and Michelle quickly discover their spark is more intense than ever.
How about you?
I think the attraction was, let's try to do this now as adults and compare it to when we were teenagers.
By this time, Brit is an experienced sheet metal mechanic with Delta Airlines, and Michelle is a dental assistant.
All right, who wants pancakes?
They have 3 children each, a total of 6 kids from previous relationships.
Coffee too? You'd like some coffee?
They bond over the struggles of being single working parents and all the child support, custody, and visitation issues that come with it.
The two of them both had children with their exes. So there was the constant being pulled in different directions. This kid is here, this kid is there.
Not everyone is thrilled with the new family setup. Brit's ex-wife Jennifer and the mother of his kids no longer considers Michelle a friend. In fact, quite the opposite.
As soon as I found out he was dating her, I wanted to throw up because she's very controlling, very possessive, just over the top, and you couldn't reason with her.
Here we go.
Great.
Enjoy.
9 months after rekindling their romance, Brit, 35, and Michelle, 37, walk down the aisle together at Noonan's Sargent Baptist Church.
All of us were the bridesmaids, and my little brother was like the ring bearer.
This was her 3rd wedding, Brit's 2nd.
It was weird to see my dad get married with us there. Like, that's something you're supposed to do before your kids, so I just thought it was weird.
But it had to be in a church with a big, huge white wedding gown, tux for my son, who was 3 or 4. It was very expensive, and at the time, I knew they were having a lot of financial problems. It just seemed over the top.
Indeed, behind this shiny facade, both Brit and Michelle have their struggles.
Well, it's just that nobody
Michelle is known for her emotional outbursts and her need to be the center of attention.
Then call somebody else.
She's just one of those people that has one of those captivating personalities. You know, it's just kind of all or nothing. When she's friendly, she's overly friendly, and when she's angry, she just goes over the edge.
Michelle's outbursts are totally unpredictable and even frightening.
Classical?
She came in one morning and I had some classical music playing, you know, kind of get everybody to chill out. And she said, well, I'm not going to listen to this music today. She picked up her purse and slammed it into the wall so hard that it actually left a dent in the drywall. She was just, you know, very, very angry about it. And it was all over classical music. It just didn't fit.
She was not in control of herself. She was all over the place. If things weren't going her way, she would pitch a fit. She would throw things.
And while Brit is known around town as a solid provider and all-round good guy, he has emotional problems of his own. He takes antidepressants and struggles with alcohol.
Brit suffered from depression. Sometimes it would come out as anger, but usually it was a self-inward, breastfeeding type behavior.
He would drink to the point of passing out.
Michelle and Brit Hall have been married 1.5 years, but they're struggling financially, and Michelle hasn't told her husband she's been fired. Now, Michelle and Brit are living under the threat of foreclosure.
At that point, his whole world was coming down, it's crashing.
What do you mean she was fired?
Not only does Brit learn that his dream home is in jeopardy, he discovers that Michelle was fired and didn't tell him.
Michelle was now going to have to be accountable and answer for everything that she's done.
Hey.
Hey. Why are you dressed like that?
I've just been working.
Really? Yeah. What are you doing? Where do you go all day?
Okay, relax.
We have no money. Where's the money going? Where have you been going?
Before long, Brit discovers exactly what Michelle has been doing with her free time. As if their financial problems aren't bad enough, Brit is having to deal with a new crisis. She's rumored to be cheating on him with Brit's best man, Eddie Carter.
Eddie was Brit's best friend through high school. They hunted together, they played ball together. Brit had just found out that Eddie had been seeing his wife.
It's all too much for Brit, and then he makes things worse.
Brit was on, I think, 3 different medications for depression, and he, at one point, stopped filling those.
It's very common for people to go off of their mental health medications. Sometimes with a history of substance abuse, you see people preferring to self-medicate with substances rather than to medicate themselves as directed by their doctors. And it's just another sign, I think, in this case, of Brit's impulsivity.
It's very dangerous for a person to suddenly stop taking antidepressant medication, particularly if they haven't consulted with a doctor. We don't know what kind of withdrawals he might suffer from, we don't know what symptoms he's going to have, and we don't know what the ultimate ramifications will be.
It's getting so bad that even the kids are afraid. Michelle's youngest daughter has been keeping a journal detailing her feelings. Even she can sense Brit's anger may be spiraling out of control.
I had to sit and watch this unfold. I was horrified, terrified for my children. And I couldn't really say anything because I didn't want to rock the boat more than I had to. But I felt like helpless, you know.
A domestic argument between Brit and Michelle Hall turns ugly. As night falls, it only gets worse.
He was in a foul, depressed mood, talking about how useless he was, how he couldn't do anything, how he couldn't make her happy, couldn't treat his kids the way he wanted. Brit had gone into this little office den where the rifle was. Michelle got concerned about that, went into that office area, and Brit was sitting behind the desk at the computer.
What's wrong with you?
Michelle thought that Brit was typing out a suicide note because of what he had said when he came home.
Michelle can't see what he's typing,
What is that?
but something else catches her eye.
A gun here!
Give me the gun.
What are you doing with this? No, I'm not gonna give you the gun.
Michelle said she felt he was gonna harm himself since he kept saying he wished that he was dead.
No!
Brit saw her looking, and she went to get the gun to get it away from the room, away from him.
You're gonna do with this?
Give me the
What do you think you're gonna do with it? Take the dog and go to your room.
They struggled over it. She was not gonna let go of the gun.
She's trying to empty the gun by firing it straight across the hallway where the dining room is. So she's pulling the trigger and shooting against the wall.
Go! Go! Oh! She shot me!
And all of a sudden, she realizes that Brett's on the floor and that he's bleeding. And he said, "Look, you just shot me."
The bullet hits Brit in the leg.
She didn't realize she did it, didn't do it intentionally. She said that she sat down to comfort him and everything, and he was upset with her. She tells Brett that we need to call and get help for your wound where I've shot you. And he just says, "I love you. I wanna give you a hug."
But it's a ruse. Brit remains determined to get control of the gun.
What are you doing?
He was yelling to her, "Let go of the gun, put down the gun."
Oh, no!
Give me the gun.
What are you doing?
Put the gun under her chin and said he was going to take them both out.
She said that he was telling her he wished that she was dead.
But instead of killing her, he turns it on himself. It's 8:02 p.m. when Michelle Hall calls 911. Her husband lies on the floor motionless with a gunshot to his chest.
That night, I was getting ready to leave the office, and a call came out.
County 911, operator 91, where's your emergency?
My husband, he shot himself. We were fighting.
Okay, where is he right now?
He's in our bathroom floor.
When the police and paramedics arrive, Brit Hall is dead. The house looks like it's been the scene of a shootout.
There appeared to be gunshot holes in the walls, baseboards, throughout this small hallway and dining room area and kitchen.
Michelle told the law enforcement officer, who was one of the first people on scene, that Brit had shot himself.
Brit Hall is in the hall bathroom, and he was flat on his back, like he had only stepped in maybe 2 feet and fell backwards. There was a wound to the left side of the chest and the heart area.
Brit Hall is dead at the age of 37, a tragic casualty of his failing marriage with Michelle.
This was a relationship that was really never in great shape. And the violence that the two of them shared with one another, and the cheating and the substance abuse, these are all building points for what eventually was going to culminate into something really dramatic.
Yeah, the antisocial behaviors in particular, the violent behavior, the substance abuse behavior, that tends to escalate. If antisocial behavior doesn't get arrested somehow, literally or figuratively, it tends to escalate, and it can escalate all the way up until somebody's dead.
It may have been his way of punishing her, as if to say, you've hurt me so much that I'm going to kill myself and I'm going to make you watch.
John Britston Hall, known to friends and family as Brit, is dead at the age of 37. His wife Michelle claims it was suicide, that he shot himself. But the cops are suspicious.
Her story immediately wasn't adding up. He was shot in the leg, in the chest, and in the arm. He was shot 3 times. And no investigator worth their salt would have believed for a moment that someone trying to commit suicide would have shot themselves 3 times.
But it's when they get into the details of Michelle's account that they begin to find even bigger holes in her story.
You're showing with your right hand. You said you were holding the leg with your left hand.
Okay, I lied. I'm sorry.
That's not a lie. You got confused.
No,
She described him pulling the gun to his chest and shooting himself with this revolver. That description necessarily would have indicated what we call a press contact wound, that the gun was pressed up against the skin and clothing and was then fired. Press contact, when the gases emitted from the gun burns and chars the flesh around the wound. That wasn't present. And they immediately began to think, this doesn't look like he shot himself.
Next, the cops examined the gun.
The gun was a 6-round revolver. All the shells were spent. That means 6 shots were fired there. They actually found 8 bullet holes. You had more shots than you had in the gun. She had actually reloaded.
There's a reason you didn't call 911 after he was shot in the leg.
Michelle can't keep her story straight.
this is the best I know how. Oh, my God.
You need to sit back down.
Never would have done that.
Shot him in the heart.
Michelle's stories changed from the time we arrived on the scene. Then it changed throughout her interview.
Tell me this.
On his cell phone, he jerked it out of my hand. He broke it in half.
Where is that phone?
What room? Because we didn't find a broken cell phone.
The evidence didn't add up. She was clearly lying.
Where are you taking her?
But what really tips the evidence against Michelle is an eyewitness who comes forward to give her version of events. Michelle's own 8-year-old daughter is the only other person present throughout the tragedy.
Now please, tell me what you heard.
Michelle's youngest daughter heard the fight begin to escalate, and she described hearing her mom say, angry words and yelling at Brit. And in between those exchanges, she heard gunshots, and she heard multiple gunshots go off.
Then, suddenly, there is silence in the house.
There was a break in the action. There was a break in the gunshots and in the arguing. She heard the door open and heard wind chime.
She had heard the door chimes going off on the home, indicating that someone had left the residence, giving them time to reload the gun and re-enter. And according to the prosecution, that someone was Michelle.
At this point, Brit was sitting in the house with a gunshot wound to his leg. She, at that point, had an opportunity to flee, retreat, call 911, call her neighbors. But when she went outside, rather than utilizing any of those other options, she went and reloaded the gun, and then she came back inside with the gun.
Then she hears her stepfather's voice again.
She heard her daddy saying, "Michelle, put the gun down. Michelle, put the gun down. Michelle, put the gun down."
He was already in a position where he was no threat to her, and she shot him again.
Put the gun down. Michelle, please. Please, come on. No. No.
The shot enters Brit's heart. But incredibly, the athletic 37-year-old is still alive.
When the investigators recorded the crime scene, they saw that there was an 80 to 90 degree blood drop pattern going into the bathroom. What that meant to us was Brit had already been shot in the chest. He was leaning over, crawling to the bathroom, trying to escape her when the third shot came.
We believe that Brit put his arm up, seeing that she was going to shoot him again, and tries to block the bullet and trying to kick the door shut with his feet, and that's when she shot him again.
The third shot came in through the arm, traveled up the arm and was lodged in the shoulder. Then Michelle came upstairs and she had blood on her, and at that point the police were called.
Police and prosecutors believe Michelle made a deliberate choice to take Brit down when she went outside and reloaded the gun.
It wasn't just a heated argument that went awry. She intended to kill him, and she accomplished what she set out to do.
Now, why Michelle on that day chose to do this, I don't know. There was no evidence that she spent months planning a way to kill Brit, and frankly, I don't think that's what happened.
I think that Michelle had just been fighting and fighting and fighting. It sounds like not just with Brit, but with ex-husbands, and everything just came to a head that day, and I think she just snapped.
Michelle goes on trial for murder in September 2009. The evidence against her is overwhelming, particularly from the prosecution's star witness.
Here's the sweet and innocent girl who's smiling on closed-circuit television. Meanwhile, her mom is sobbing in the courtroom because she realizes at that point that her daughter's testimony is very damning.
And it was very powerful. Brit say, "Michelle, put the gun down." Boom. "Michelle, please put the gun down." Boom. And what this child was hearing was him, Brit, pleading for his life.
It was essentially the nail in her mother's coffin.
Michelle didn't just kill her husband, she destroyed an entire family. She left a lot of kids without a father. And I don't really think she has any remorse. Just the fact that she moved right in with his best friend while she was out on bond tells me that she doesn't have any regard for his children whatsoever.
You know, most people who kill another person, even if it's in self-defense, feel bad about it. So somebody who can think it through and carry it out as a way of making their lives easier on them speaks to a level of depravity, a lack of empathy that's hard for the normal human being to relate to.
And I truly believe that she thought that she would get away with this murder. She figured that they would believe her story and that she would turn out okay.
A Coaheta County Superior Court jury takes less than 3 hours to find Michelle Garner Hall guilty of premeditated murder. She is sentenced to life plus 20 years, meaning she will not be eligible for parole for 30 years.